Well, howdy do everybody. Hope you're doing well. Back again with another video. And I would like for y'all to meet somebody today. This here is a very nice Jason Voorhees figure that I found at Target the other day. It's got a real nice cover, and as you can tell, this particular one is from the 7th Friday 13th, the New Bloods. One's got that girl, her name is Tina, and she can just use her eyes and emotions and whatnot just to make stuff move out of nowhere, a lot like Bewitched. And this here's kind of like a book, where you can open it up and see the really gnarly looking figure you got in there. And we're going to take every bit of that out of the box. So why don't we cut the crap and get down to the nitty gritty. Righty now, so here's the box. There's the top of it, real nice right there. Good pictures. Same thing on that side. And there's the man behind the mask himself. And this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the man out of the package. This big bad boy right here with all his weaponry and artillery, as you can see right there before you. And he has just about everything that he used to kill people, slice them and dice them, whatever, in Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. We're going to start off by taking a look at these two things right here. These appear to be some spare different set of hands to make it easier to hold some of his weapons he has there. Set those down. And here is the split in half Jason mask. Like that scene from the movie where that girl's name is Tina. She makes the mask so tight it splits in half and reveals Jason's very ugly, and I would have to say his most rugged looking face. I mean, I gotta say, Jason in Part 7 honestly looks the most intimidating, the most rugged, tore up, his bones are hanging out and everything. And his face, as you can see, is no exception. Set that down right there. Let's take a look at some of these weapons here, shall we? We have this big, gnarly looking hook right here. I'd hate to get struck with that thing. We got us an axe. He used a couple of those, not just in Part 7, quite a few other Friday 13th as well. And we have this big old thing that he stuck in that dude's back. Looks like an oversized yardstick of some kind, if you ask me. Kind of like them ones you find at Walmart, but it's like 10 times bigger. And of course, we have us a nice knife. And of course, his signature weapon throughout the Friday 13th franchise, his beautiful machete. A strange looking stick here with a sort of a blade and a hook blade. Not exactly sure what that's called, but it is definitely a unique looking weapon of some kind. And then we have this big daggone thing right here. Looks like a crossover between a dab-burn weed eater and a sawmill. This might actually be just a regular weed eater, but it has like extra room to cut grass right there. Of course, in this movie, he was using it to gut that one fella's guts out. Now, they cut it before they saw everything fly out of his stomach there, but we know what he does with weapons, like many other slashers. He slices and dices them. And I'm sure y'all's most anticipated piece of the package was indeed Mama's Boy himself. I have one of those 8-pack DVDs of the first 8 Friday 13s from the original up to Manhattan, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to be honest. I think Part 7 Jason New Blood, man, I think this Jason right here honestly looks the most intimidating out of the bunch. I mean, just look at how much more rugged and tore up he is compared to his other appearances. I know he looked pretty rugged in Manhattan as well, but just look at how much more the clothes are tore up here on the Part 7 Jason. I mean, his skin is hanging out. Some of the bones are exposed down there. Almost having skeleton hands because, the skin's all falling off and ripping up because, he's been under the water so long because Tommy put him there at the end of Part 6. And speaking of Part 6, he still has that chain around from the last movie before the New Blood where Tommy put him under the water. That's a nice touch right there. And another surefire way to tell it's Part 7 Jason, other than the package saying so, of course, is to look at his iconic hockey mask, and you can see right there on that side part of it has been ripped out, whether some animal bit it off out there or maybe it rotted off when he was under the water, and it reveals a little bit of his very nasty mouth, which does make me say yes to this question if you have it. There is a very ugly face behind that mask. I mean, it's supposed to be ugly. It's Jason Voorhees, And I'm sure those of y'all that collect these things probably figured out that this thing is made by NECA, so therefore, just like many other NECA horror movie figures, he does have joints and articulations for days. You can make the head turn left and right. You can move it backwards just a little bit, down just a little bit. This head can tilt. Nice details everywhere you look. A lot of rotation here in the arms and the elbows. There's a joint right there in the hand. And the same thing applies to the other arm right here. Now, I don't move them too terribly much because, they're so beautiful. I don't want to tear them up or anything, but you can sure do that if you want to. Like, say, maybe you were taking posing pictures of this thing. I do that a lot. Or a stop motion video or something like that. Now, his legs don't move too terribly well. I mean, they do move, but, they're kind of stiff. And I think the reason for that is just the fact that, this Jason here has so much more rugged features than many of the other Jasons. Therefore, those clothes are kind of stuck together and it's not going to move the best. But, hey, they do move if you need him to walk or something. And I'll tell you what, NECA goes crazy with these things because they go even put articulations here in the feet. You can move his foot back and forth just a little bit here. And same thing with the other one right here. It's a little stiff, but hey, that's all right. I'm not going to be playing with these too much anyway. They're kind of just made for looks, if you think about it. And he even has some torso movement right there. I don't know if that's really going to be used a whole bunch for some folks, but hey, it's there if you want it. And since we have him right here on our hands, why don't we just go ahead and take a look at the back of him? Just like the front of him and basically everywhere else on him. Rugged right there too. Man, you can see a spinal cord and some of his ribs. Man, I know I said it already, but I think Part 7 Jason looks the most rugged and intimidating. I know I'm saying the word rugged a lot, but, he pretty much is. I mean, look at him. Very nicely detailed, very nicely made horror figure right here, if I do say so myself. And, of course, if you would like to make movies or pictures with him, if you wanted him to hold any of his weapons, you can very easily take these hands off right here and insert the hands that have the more rounded fingers that are so much easier and better for holding his weapons. Put this one in right there. Put this one in right there, just like so. And just go ahead and prepare him for combat or pictures, whatever it is you're going to do with him. There's with that very ugly hook and that oversized yardstick, whatever that thing is. I suppose if he wanted to stop them dumb kids from heeing and sheeing in the back of the van on his territory, I reckon that axe ought to take care of the job right there. And I suppose if you wanted to have him imitate another very popular slasher, that one from Haddonfield, Illinois, you could have him do that with this knife, this really big butcher knife, looks like. But anyways, you can see just how good that particular set of hands is for holding on to some of these weapons here, such as this very awkward-looking blade of some kind. Once again, I'm not 100% sure what that is, but it's very, very good for killing people. I mean, that's what he does. And of course, for a fact, Jason Voorhees definitely ain't fooling around when he whips out this mammer jammer right here. Whew, that's got to be one bloody, gnarly death for that one fella. I'll tell you what. And I know it's not nice to use this kind of language all the time, but the phrase I have in mind is funny, and I'll say it anyway. Whoever's on the other end of this weapon right here, it's going to be a rough day, because their ass is going to be grass, and Jason here is going to mow it for them. And let's not even think about looking at all these weapons without having Jason's signature weapon in the show, right? And once again, this is a very, very poseable figure, so you can do all kinds of poses while he's holding these weapons. You can have him with his iconic machete right there. You can have him look like he's just standing there looking intimidating out somewhere. And you can have it look like he's about to ruin somebody's day. And of course, when you threw all them weapons, you can take the curly hands off and just put the open hands back on. And of course, just like his interchangeable hands, he has an interchangeable head as well. So you can pop this face off right here. There's a look at the face again underneath the mask. And here is the mask off if you wonder what that looks like. But yeah, there's the face under the mask. And yeah, you can just take that off. And keep in mind when this in particular figure, when you take the head off of it, that little chain right there that's around his neck is going to come off. So pay attention to that. And you can just put it back on there if you want. Or you can have it off. It's up to you, I suppose. And now here we have Mama's boy with the other head. As you can see, it's basically just like the other head, but the mouth is open considerably more because Tina found the power to squeeze that mask on there so tight that it's split in half to reveal the face. And speaking of that particular moment from the movie, this here, ladies and gentlemen, is where the split in half mask comes into play. Now, as you can see, this in particular Jason head has a hole right in the back of it. And this here is for this little knob right there on the split in half mask to go into. So you just insert that little knot right there inside that hole in the back of Jason's head, the other head. And now you have this awesome looking shot right here. The way the face is behind the mask that's split and open, it kind of looks like the opening to Halloween 2 where the jack-o'-lantern opened up and revealed a skull inside. And if you're done with that, you can just take the mask out from behind the head. And if you're done with that head, you can just pop it off. Once again, watch that chain because it's liable to come off. And you can just put the other head back on. Just like that. And don't forget this Jason mask right here. You can slide that back on. Just like that. Adjust it if you need to here and there, just a little bit. And there we are. Back in business. Well, he was in business, he was just a little out of his head there for a moment. If you want to say that, I suppose you could. And in case if you're wondering what it looks like right next to other figures, there on the right you can see the Part 2 Jason that I got for Christmas this past year. And as you can see, Jason has been through quite a bit since that second movie, because, it was his mom killing everybody in the first movie, and it was that old boy Roy, that paramedic, in Part 5. But yeah, pretty much since Part 2, Jason's been the killer in the Friday the 13th movies ever since. And as you can see, he's been through quite a bit. Been through a lot of running, been through a lot of killing, whole lot of everything. And just to have some fun, here are some other horror movie figures that I have. Here we have Mr. Mikey Myers, all the way from Hanfield, Illinois. That is the 2018 Michael Myers, the movie that takes place 40 years after the original Halloween. And coming up on right next to him, we have the Bill Skarsgård Pennywise from the second chapter of the It remake. And of course, none of that would have been possible if it hadn't have been for this fella right here, the original 1990 Pennywise, as portrayed by Tim Curry. One of, if not my favorite horror villain of all time right there. And there's Part 7 Jason off to the left, with all the other ones off to the right. Looks like we have a big old Halloween party or something going on here, don't we? And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That there was the NECA Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, Jason Voorhees action figure. Very, very nicely detailed. Lots of very nice articulations all over his body. Lots of very cool accessories to go along with that. And just a very nice horror figure overall. So yeah, if you're a big Friday the 13th fan like me, definitely pick this thing up over at Target's where I got it at. And if you just want to add more onto your horror collection overall, this is definitely a good one to pick up. Now, if you would like to hear more of my beautiful voice and see some more interesting content on this channel, I suggest that you go ahead and hit that like button and the subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss a thing that I upload. And until next time, I am down and gone.